NVIDIA's earnings just popped up out of the corner of my eyes. Okay,
Oh
we're
yeah, okay,
moving over to that. Hold on.
let's do it.
Okay, here we
Oh
go.
man,
Okay, so revenue was a 4.5% beat. The expectation was $92 billion of revenue, and it came in at over $96 billion in revenue. EPS was a 6% beat. Analysts were expecting a $2 EPS, and it came in at around $2.20. And let's see, the stock is
stock
currently
is
down
down after hours
one a
despite the
little.
beat.
Yes.
This, this is
Did you
pretty
see
incredible.
NVIDIA like was down 7 days in a row up until like yesterday?
Oh really? No, I
Yeah.
haven't been following it closely,
Yeah.
but
Their longest down streak all time was 9 days in a row.
a 4% beat on revenue on top line, by the way, is roughly $4 billion for them, which is pretty
Yes.
incredible, right? So it's like 96 billion versus 92. Um, and then the 6% beat on EPS makes it even better. I mean, like this company just is continuing to crush it. $96 billion annualized is basically over $400 billion run rate, assuming they don't even grow from here, or like roughly $400 billion run rate, assuming they don't grow. And of course, they're still growing like gangbusters. So it'll be interesting to see what their report indicates for like next quarter. Um, but these are fantastic results. Like I don't know what the market is expecting. There's so many
Right.
companies that are actually overvalued that that the market should be reacting in these ways when they report. but for a company that is reporting like huge amounts of revenue and profits and has a forward PE of just 20, what is it, 21, for it to react negatively to
Yep.
that is pretty incredible.
Yeah. You can
So
see that big drop here after hours after the
yeah,
release. So I don't know what the market was anticipating
expecting.
or if they're just playing mind games, which, the market loves to do. Um, just a couple things to call out here. NVIDIA has beat their revenue estimate 16 of the last 17 quarters. So this is
Yeah.
a company that continuously has been able to beat expectations, uh, even well before, uh, the insane growth they've had with AI. And then next quarter, the estimates right now are $103.5 billion of revenue. So a significant jump from the actual numbers of this quarter at $96 billion.
It'll be interesting to see what they say on the earnings call as well, which I'll be listening to after this. But
Yeah.
but yeah, very cool.
Question to both. Your idea why NVIDIA not moving for many months, having fantastic performance? Would you sell NVIDIA if you had it with 200% profit now and buy something else? Why?
My okay, so not investment advice, but this is the most interested in NVIDIA I've ever been because
Same.
now they're the most undervalued. It feels like they have been, and they continue to execute exceptionally well. So my view is not that something else is more interesting. Well, I mean, maybe Micron is more interesting to me specifically, but I wouldn't sell NVIDIA to buy AMD or like Avgo or Broadcom or one of these other chip makers or semiconductor companies, because amongst them, NVIDIA is the most attractive. Like to me, it doesn't make sense why people are buying Intel, right? Like it doesn't make sense why people are buying AMD, where NVIDIA is as inexpensive as it is. So the fundamentals and valuations matter from my perspective, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning, is that if there was a major market correction because of like these companies starting to maybe the AI spend starts to slow down or stagnates, well, if NVIDIA revenues and profits don't grow and stay at this point, well, they only have the same PE as every other S&P 500 company. So would I want to or the average S&P 500 company. So would I want to own the average S&P 500 company here, or would I want to own NVIDIA? And the answer to me, for me at least, is like I would be more excited about NVIDIA and what the future might hold for them as opposed to the average S&P 500 company. But if it stagnates from here, and then I own Intel, and then Intel revenues don't grow, well, that is going to be a major problem because Intel's, like revenue and profits don't support its current valuation. It has a, hold on, let me pull it up real quick. It has a forward PE of 65, meaning assuming they make as much profits as they're expected to make over the next 12 months, they're still going to be valued at 3 times higher than the average S&P 500 company. So if they stagnate here, they could go down by 70% in the stock price and still be more expensive than the average S&P 500 company from an price earnings perspective, right? So I mean, obviously, price earnings is not the end all be all, but it is an important metric, at least from my perspective. And I think that the financials of the company matter a lot, and the valuations matter a lot. How quickly they can grow, their revenues, profits, all of that stuff is critical. Fundamentally, from the type of investor that I am, it always comes down to the earnings for me. So I like NVIDIA here. I don't currently own any, but it's more exciting to me than most other companies. Dustin, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so let's visualize what you're saying here, because we have this great feature on Earnings Hub, which is the EHS score, that shows off how a stock is performing relative to the other 500 most popular stocks on Earnings Hub, right? And I know we're cutting off some of this a little bit, but this top left corner here is showing NVIDIA has 83% revenue growth. And you could see majority of the companies have about 2 to 10% revenue growth. NVIDIA has, again, 83%.
So it's an outlier in a very, very positive way.
Right.
Keep going.
Yes,
just to clarify what that means.
Yeah, please. Similar with EPS growth. EPS growth, NVIDIA is at 89%. Not as much of an outlier, but still very much an outlier. And the typical, again, popular company on Earnings Hub, it ranges from 0 to 20% EPS growth. Now, typically, with these companies that have high growth, also comes high valuations. But that is not the case for NVIDIA, again, relative to the other 500 most popular companies. So you could see it's kind of bunched together with the more popular or the more common companies here. So NVIDIA's PE ratio is about 30, which is in line. I mean, most of the PEs here are 10 to 35, we'll call it. So it's like in the range.
Right.
Forward PE is roughly 8.5 to 25, 30. And NVIDIA's forward PE is 22. Now, where they are a bit of an outlier is their price to sales ratio. Again, I know it's a bit cut off here, where the more common price to sale ratios are closer to 0 to 5. NVIDIA's price to sales ratio is 16.
And this one is an outlier in a negative way, but just to sort of
Right.
talk about that for a moment, like grocery stores, let's say Walmart, for example, or Costco or whatever, these guys have extremely low margins. They operate with like 10 or 15% margins, as opposed to NVIDIA, which operates at 80% or 75, 80% margins. So the price to sales ratio on high margin companies is generally much, much higher, and therefore they're generally going to be outliers anyway. So on that particular metric. So
Right.
all right.
So all that is to say, if I already owned NVIDIA, meaning I was already bought into, the valuation and what they're doing as a company, what would I be doing with those shares today? To Hamid's point, they've only become a better company fundamentally. So the only reason to question it from the listener question here is their stock price has been stagnant, but I don't think that's a reason to sell, because based on the fundamentals, it seems like stock price will eventually have to catch up.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna do two more.
All right. let's go.
This is okay. Also on NVIDIA, but it also ties into Micron. How do you see NVIDIA IR page stating that there are commitments increased to 279 billion from 119 billion due to procurement of memory chips? Super bullish for Micron and other memory companies, I hope.
I haven't seen that particular investment relations update, but that seems like a good thing, and I would agree with that sentiment. I don't know if you know anything more about that, Dustin.
No, I haven't seen anything about this either, but agree. Another bullish sign.
If you enjoyed this clip, consider subscribing to the Buy Hold Rant podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. New episodes are released every Wednesday, and you can watch them live on YouTube.